the PanelCast, and it's to shift mindsets for a positive change, specifically within the sports marketing, entertainment, and events industry. We have a great industry, and there's great opportunities and innovation already happening throughout the chaos that we found ourselves in. And we thought, what better way to bring our community together than to do a PanelCast and get people asking questions and bringing amazing panelists on. So just so you understand, this is not about one particular brand or one particular agency giving their point of view. What we're trying to do is bring voices from all around our industry and other industries that are relating to, sorry, I'm letting someone else in, other industries that are relating to events, and give everyone a chance to ask questions. So, sorry, let a couple more in. So basically over the next, in the short term, over the next 10 weeks, what we hope for is to give our industry more guidance around how to transition and plan for the next 6 to 12 months, and in a long term to the 18 months. So today we're going to be looking at the future of innovation within our industries, where we can look to for that inspiration, what sponsorship is going to look like, and what we need to do as an industry to encourage sponsorship. Thank you to everyone that has given us questions. What we've done is we've taken those on board. We've written a few down, which we're going to throw out to our panelists for today. So just to intro the panelists, we have CT, who is my business partner. He's an events and sports marketing expert specializing in innovation and creativity. So he doesn't just have the 20 years of experience in events, but he's also a graphic designer. So he looks at things from a creative perspective. And he'll be talking today about trends, how to think outside the box and create assets within your events. Then we have Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Howdy doody.
Hello. So Jeff is the CEO of TEG, Asia Pacific's leading live entertainment and tech business. So Jeff is also hailed as the architect behind the diversification of Ticketek to TEG. And we're going to be talking to Jeff more about that today on how he developed Ticketek into the business that it is today. Jeff also wrote, I'm not sure if anyone that's on here saw that, I'm sure they did, but Jeff actually wrote an open letter to the Prime Minister in support of small and medium businesses in the event industry, which we are very thankful for. It's so nice to have such large voices behind our industry and taking that onto the to the federal government. So we'll uncover the way that Jeff sees the future of live events, innovation and partnerships. And last but not least, we have Andreas, who is the APAC Sports Marketing Manager for Reebok. Andreas looks over the fitness.
Hi guys.
Hi Andreas.
Lost the screen already. Good intro. Got excited.
Andreas looks over the fitness marketing, sponsorship and athlete programs for Asia Pacific, and he manages a business to person marketing program, which a few of you that have signed in will be really familiar with. So we'll hear about how he has pivoted his campaigns to sit well within this time, that it's not all about selling, it's more about how we can help you right now, and then eventually take his community into a sell when the time is right. Andreas has also got a wealth of experience in sponsorship and brand direction, which we'll also delve deeper into. So we will open this conversation up. First of all, CT, can I just ask you to summarize where we got to last week?
Absolutely, yeah. So last week we had a great conversation about economics, and we looked at the recession, and economists talking about how we've moved into an L-shaped recession, and what that means is that the economy is falling fast, but that they see that we're going to plateau for 18 months, and then we're going to be following that by a 10-year boom, starting around September 2021. So that gives us a bit of a framework to work towards. We also had a look at financial support and some of the government subsidies available, such as JobKeeper, which I'm sure everyone's really across. We went into the mental health and well-being and talked about the importance of checking in with our employees and colleagues. And we've also linked some of the resources from TAS and the Black Dog Institute to our the Shift Facebook group, which you can find. So check in for that if you want to find that stuff. Also, the importance of creating stronger partnerships. Look, we're in it together, and it's about having open conversations. We discussed the possibility we may need to consider lowering ticket prices to meet the market in the recession and what that might mean. And things, we can be focusing on doing in our downtime. We also talked about this not being a time to sell, as Hayley just mentioned. It's really important that people take that on board. And that the final takeout was, and it was a big one, is what we might expect with events in terms of timings and how the restrictions might unfold, and how, as we come out the other side of this.
Cool, thank you. So my first question for Jeff. So Jeff, as I understand it, you were CEO of Ticketek back in 2007 when the global financial crisis hit Australia. Then you took it through the next 3 years, and I'm just wondering what the biggest learning you got from a business perspective on how you took Ticketek through the 3 years of the global financial crisis.
Yeah, sure, Holly. I guess it sounds interesting and different, and the GFC and the pandemic, COVID-19, I think are very different. Having now, lived through both, well, not lived through, but through one of them, but lived through the other one. During the GFC, we had the best couple of years we've ever had. It might sound bizarre, but it was a time when, unlike this time when everything shut down, things were still open. There was obviously unemployment, there was concern for people, but people wanted to. There are two industries went really well in the GFC: alcohol, from where I just come from, to join Ticketek at that time, and live entertainment. People wanted to drink to forget their plight, and they wanted to entertain themselves in our, in a tough environment, and they went out to live events like there was no tomorrow. So now this one's different. Everything's shut down, so there's not a real comparison between them. But what I did, specifically to your question, through the GFC, I learned the resilience of our market, the resilience of the industry, the live entertainment industry that we're all in, the absolute importance of the products we all peddle, whatever type of product they are, be they big concerts, sporting events, smaller events, exhibitions, family content, whatever it is. It's a resilient industry, and that people are really desiring to go to what we do. So that was, I suppose, resilience, and the fact that we're having a really, really tough time, where our industry is the first one to really collapse on itself, and we will undoubtedly be one of, if not the slowest one to get back to where we were. So a lot of tough times ahead, but resilience was the key word that I'd come out of that.
Thank you. And Ticketek has then since, as you heading up, has developed into TG, and you now have various divisions within the group. Can you please just explain briefly, for anyone that doesn't know, what those 4 divisions or pillars are and what they mean?
Yeah, sure. So TG is a company that Ticketek, we evolved it into what was then called Nine Live. We were owned by the Nine Entertainment Company, and the rationale we had was that it was no good just being a ticketing company in the environment we're in. We needed to, generate, create, develop, work with content, and we needed to own a venue, and we wanted to have a data and digital capability. And we've now evolved through a number of iterations into TG, and we now have 22 brands under the banner across 8 different countries. And our business was sold in November last year to a US private equity company called Silver Lake, who are one of, if not the biggest live entertainment and technology PE companies in the world. They own William Morrison or Endeavour. They own IMG. They own UFC, part of Madison Square Garden company, and 10% of the City Football Group, which is Manchester City, and they own our humble little business. So, yeah, we've evolved, and we're very strong ticketing presence, both in Australia and ticketing companies in 6 other countries. We are the #1 content provider, so I now have 5 promoter verticals, from TG Dainty to TG Live, MJR, Van Egmont, all our different content verticals. We own the biggest arena in Australia in Sydney, Kudos Bank Arena, and we're really, really proud of what we've developed in the last sort of 6 years in the digital data analytics and insight space. So we have really standalone businesses there that provide, that utilise the very strong database we've got, but provide unique insights into our complex live entertainment landscape.
So you obviously have a lot of divisions that at different times will grow and innovate. For the next 6 to 12 months, where do you see the largest potential for growth within your 4 divisions?
6 to 12 months, my God, I wish I had a crystal ball. Because like a lot of you guys, and I have empathy, for all the, and all of you guys. We need small and medium enterprises to help what we do and to work with us. We're a company that now has about nearly 800 people globally full time. So we're an okay size, but we rely fundamentally on production managers, tour managers, all forms of people in this great live entertainment industry, which I've been in for a few years now, and we're all in. So let's assume that we come out of this pretty well. Let's hope we come out of this inside of 6 months to start. What I see is that we'll have a stepped way back into business. So let's say we come out 1 September, for argument's sake. We're at the moment probably at about 2% of our normal revenue. So if we were 100% of revenue, we're currently at about 2%, which is not a good place to be. And I'm sure most, if not, maybe not Andreas' business, but many of you guys are like that. So that's a tough place to be. We won't go from 2 to 100 inside a year, in my view. So we'll have to step change ourselves up. So in the first month, we might go from 2 to 13%, then from 13% in the next month to 25%. Say, I don't know. I'm just plucking these fingers in the ass, but that's how we'll step it up as things come back. I get a little bit off mission here, but I think the biggest concern I've got in my industry, my business, is international. So we depend for a lot of the good money we make on international acts, international sporting content, etc. Travel restrictions and the like, because our island continent is going to be locked down from international travel for quite a lot longer. We'll be back to running business normally, but stuff coming in, and a lot of artists, for example, music artists, don't like flying at the best of times. They're going to like it even less now. It may be that our government impose a quarantine time when those guys, lockdown time for 7 to 10 days. Who knows? I've got nothing to. I'm just postulating here. I'm not saying this is all going to happen. But
could this then be an opportunity for the Australian market, for Australian events?
Very good. That was my next point. So I've got my content guys focused completely on innovation and imagination in Australian stuff. And my TNG Live business is quite synonymous with touring Australian acts, and we're already in a lot of discussions for all form of tours. Some breakout, different type of content, and I'm not talking about streaming. I'm talking about live content. So we are really focused on help supporting Australian artists and supporting Australian content, because that will be the first to come back, and we're thinking about it in a way, in a number of different ways. And I have no doubt every other promoter is doing the same, and so they should be. But definitely the Australian content will come back first, as it should. And it's also, after a bit of a famine for our Australian artists, they should have a decent opportunity, because let's face it, we're sitting here on a Thursday night before the Easter weekend, depending on what team you barrack for. And we wouldn't normally be here, but we've got nothing else to do, so it's great. It's going to be. I've got cabin fever already, and we're only at the start of the journey, so we'll want to entertain ourselves. Believe me.
Yeah, I think that's a really positive to take out, because we have been. There was a discussion last week about it being overcrowded at the end of the year, so for Australian events. So potentially that's a good takeout from that there's not going to be so many internationals coming in, that is an opportunity for the Australian market.
My view would be, I'll give you a couple of insights that I think are relevant to this group. So to give everyone confidence, I can't remember what it was, 2 weeks ago or maybe 3 weeks ago, but it was COVID was definitely on everyone's mind. Live Nation put the Harry Styles tour on sale. Harry Styles, ex-One Directioner, very good artist. That was right. That's for a late November, early December tour. That the tickets flew out the door for that tour. Everything was sold out. It was a great, all power to Live Nation having that confidence. But that audience is a Gen Z audience, and they were there for Harry, and they had no trepidation at all of buying tickets. So, we're already talking about which audiences, will baby boomers and Gen X come back? Will they have some trepidation, and where will Gen Y be? Where will Gen Z be? So we're thinking about that. But there is, have confidence that our market is a resilient market, and people will buy tickets to things when it comes back.
Yeah, thank you. CT, I'm going to ask you just to talk about small businesses in respect of how TEG is built and how there's all these different pillars.
Yeah.
Can you maybe explain for smaller businesses or for people in other parts of the industry how that could maybe work for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think for small businesses, we still need to have those pillars, that we're looking at in larger businesses, but setting all of those pillars up might be, quite a costly, proposition, and take, too much time initially when we're talking about the 6 to 12 month period that you were talking about. So, it might really, for small businesses, it might revolve more around creating key partnerships with specialist companies in each of those pillars to start with. So if we use it for an example, we use, a boutique ticketing company to sort of take it in that direction. We might partner with a mate who has a live venue, or a supplier that we generally use who has a live venue. We might partner with a promoter or event agency. We might partner with lots of people like that in different parts of the country to set up a national partner network. I know Jeff is they play in an international market there, but we might want to say for this, we're talking about a national network. And so we're using those to set that up. And then we might use that, all the data across all of those partners when we set those partnerships up. So what we're looking at there really is about setting up the pillars to have the additional revenue streams coming in from all the different areas. So not just your core business, but that feed into each other. And so we might also, need to ask, where is the growth going to be in the future for the business and for your company? What innovation can be pushed.
Cool, thank you. I think that pretty much summarizes it. But if anyone does have any questions, just feel free to put it down on the chat there. Jeff, I'm going to go back to you. Andreas, sorry, I'm coming back to you. We're going to move to sponsorship through this. Thank you for your patience. Jeff, just keeping on the innovation side, how will you be encouraging innovation through the group at this time? And is there already some initiatives that you've got in place?
Yeah, look, I think all of us have got to think, anyone who says they're working at their normal tempo, I think is kidding themselves. But that's personal view. I tell my people they kid themselves. That's what they say. Anyway,
It sounds familiar, Jeff.
Yeah, maybe I'm being harsh. I used to have a couple of lemons. The guy called Chewy Saunders working with, wouldn't work at 9-1, but a whole other story. So look, we've, for myself, in a bizarre way, I felt a little liberated to think about the future and plan. And I've initiated. It's a dumb name, but I've initiated internally Project Phoenix, which is TEG in a post-COVID-19 world. So the analogy of Phoenix rising from the bloody ashes. So I hope it's not ashes, but just a little tiny little fire. Anyway, and we're looking at companies increasing their digital technology rapidly. We're looking, how do we change our operating model? What do we look at? How we're looking at our structure going forward. Now, it's easy for me to talk this way because we're a slightly bigger company, a lot of you guys, but we're increasing our tech initiatives. So we're taking time in this downtime, inverted commas, to do stuff we mightn't have had a time to do because we're always charging on one after the other because we've got such demanding clients in venues and all this sort of stuff for so we if there's a good to come out of that, it's think about the future, plan. We will come out of this. We'll all come back stronger. Australia has the best event companies in the world. We do events better than anybody. We're a desired place to come to by international artists. They will need to get back on their bikes and come out here again. So it will, and all of you, most of you people, no doubt on here, CT accepted are young, youngish. You've got plenty of time ahead of you. I hope for you guys, it's certainly been a good thing for my company that the government with the JobKeeper money was very well received, or will be received when we eventually get it. But it was a great initiative. I hope that's been a help to you guys to keep your heads above water. But to me, it's all about planning for the future. Know we'll come out of it and be the best version of yourself and your company when you come out of it. Don't waste this time, crying into our beer or gin and tonic or whatever you drink, CT, because the sun will come up eventually, and there'll be a lot of opportunity that comes out of it.
Yeah, totally agreed. Totally agreed. Andres, can you talk to us about what Reebok are doing right now to pivot their business, your business, and keeping your community engaged?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll kick it off by saying CT is not that old. I think he's quite young still. I'll give him that. Look, we're also in a unique position as a business and a brand, because consumer spending has obviously changed a lot, and it's hard to convince someone to buy a new pair of shoes when they're not too sure if they've got a job for the next 6 months. So this kind of goes back to what we fundamentally believe as a brand, and for us, it's really about the social, mental, and physical state of people, and trying to make people better people, and celebrate fitness. And through the power of sport, we feel as though we can change lives. And we're going back to what we actually believe in. So for this next period, it's all about, I think we heard it before, we're all in this together. Right now isn't the right time to be selling. We pride ourselves by our communities and the communities we work with, and the likes of CrossFit, UFCs, Les Mills, broader fitness communities. And for us right now, it's about that engagement piece. And we're coming up with initiatives that we're actually launching tomorrow around, you've got permission to pause. You don't always have to be on the go. You don't always have to be on the screens. you've got a moment to self-reflect and do something that's important for yourself. And also something that we're kicking off is a K a day. We're just wanting people to move, just something that's achievable, something that's that is accessible. It's not exclusive, and it's really about kind of getting out of your seat and getting into this new world, as we say, and get moving. So the change for us is, it's not a huge shift in what we believe in. So it is, again, going back to the core beliefs of us, but it's around doing it at the right time. The time will come where we want to start pushing product more. But at the moment, I don't think it's the right time to be doing that. And it's really about, again, connecting with various people throughout the industry and the communities.
Yeah, we've had a lot of feedback actually from marketing managers and sponsorship managers, and definitely along the same lines. If a brand has a really solid purpose, then this purpose doesn't necessarily mean to sell now, but they will take their community on a journey. When the time is right, they will have built that trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, don't get me wrong, we've still got to pay the bills, and we're still ultimately a product company. So end of the day, we still are trying to sell, but it's all about advocacy and loyalty and building up that community within our business to, when consumers feel more confident, they'll come back, and they'll come back to us knowing that we've been there for the whole time.
Yeah, perfect. CT, do you want to just add anything of your perspective about brand and brands being important right now? Oh, sorry, I don't think we can hear you.
Hello?
There you go. There you go.
Sorry about that. Yeah, look, I think on the brand side, and thanks, Andreas, I think like where the world and people are heading towards being purpose-driven, and we're seeing the same through a purpose business strategy. So for a brand, it's not just about logos and strap lines. It has to be end-to-end through the business. So it's not just about saying it, it's about living it. And it's about growing a community and strengthening your relationships. And I know that's a little bit different in business sometimes, but this can have a massive effect on the business still. So from increasing return on investment through, retention of customers and retention of partners and retention of people in the business who believe in it, attracting great people to you through the purpose, and also attracting investment and also driving in innovation. So I think for a brand, that's kind of where things are heading that way.
Well, now we've got Hayley on mute.
Can't hear you.
Hello, sorry.
There we go.
Jeff, TG procure and manage sponsorships for hundreds of events throughout the year. What are the biggest changes you think that we'll see in sponsorship more in the short term, so maybe in the next 12 months?
Yeah, look, I think we're already seeing our sponsorship guys and our commercial guys, our digital people are speaking to a number of brands who, both Andreas and Chris mentioned, they're companies that want to engage with their community and their customers, clients, whatever you want to call it, to create lifetime value. So, our company, we don't just try to, in the things that we promote in our business, we can offer companies a whole lot of different ways to get through, through our database, through our online product, and as well as our live product. So we think of brand partnership in a different way, and we have big affiliate partnerships with a lot of big brands, but also a lot of less big brands. So I think brands will still need to and want to engage with those communities. Not every company. Our industry's been drastically affected, but there's still in my street today there was tradies. It's unique for me being at home to see what happens in my home during a day, and probably 4 different tradies came in. I don't know what for. Something, but their business is still going okay, and everyone's bought fitness equipment, and I imagine Andreas, hopefully people have bought Reebok's fine equipment as well. But so I think there's some brands that will do quite well out of this and have. I think what's been nice so far, certainly applicable to big sports, that a lot of brands have stuck loyal to those companies they're sponsoring. Telstra cop a lot of crap, but Telstra, I don't know if it's widely known, but Telstra said that they would, they're sticking by and renewing all of their sponsorships, which, Telstra is a company for all the rubbish they cop, a lot of times unfairly. They have an amazing, they're the biggest company in Australia, so they probably, someone could say they can afford to have a good community spirit, but they certainly do. And I'd commend Andy Penn, their CEO, and their leadership for that, for doing that and renewing all those deals, because that's as we've seen with all the plight of the AFL, NRL, and rugby and football, soccer. It's all those businesses are doing it tough as well. So I predict that brands will want to be involved in sponsoring quality product, and they'll want to engage, as they already have been in increasing ways, not just with spots and dots on television or radio spots or outdoor, but a broad mix of engagement with that base, which will include our live events, and more power to them doing that. I hope that continues.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I find it interesting actually you say that there is actually quite a few companies that are doing well out of us having to stay at home, and Telstra might be one of those, because it is an essential service and we're using it more and more.
Yeah, the telcos are doing real well, the grocers are doing well.
Yeah.
The banks aren't struggling. There's a lot of there's a lot of us that are struggling, but there's a good sample that aren't.
Yeah, for sure. Andres, so as a brand that sponsors quite a lot of events and athletes, what will you be looking for in events, or what would you say for the events industry? How will they encourage brands to come back and sponsor their events after this?
Yeah, look, I think Jeff hit it on the head before around that connection and relationships. I think the biggest shift I think we'll find is, I don't think the word sponsorship in its entirety will be as we know it. The word partnership is going to be a lot stronger. It's not just a case of putting some money across to an event or an activation just because, and throwing mud at the wall and hoping it sticks, or a logo. It's really about connecting with that, with the consumer base, the members, whoever it might be. And I think we also need to go back to what events do for an individual. Jeff mentioned resilience, and I think it's resilience because it's not what people hear you say or what you do, it's the emotion. It's a typical marketing jargon, but I think it's, in its essence at the moment, is true. And I think that's what, in the events industry, what you can be very confident in, that you have an emotive crowd, an emotive consumer that relive everything. The amount of times you see reruns on Fox Sports and everyone's tuned into it because they were there. How did they make them feel? How did they watch that try? And for a brand, that's really important, because it's the sale of your product becomes an emotive feeling, and connecting with an event that can deliver that is massive. And I think that's a real credit to what events do.
Thank you. I'm actually going to throw out the same question to you, CT. I mean, what's your take on how events and brands can win out of this from an events point of view?
Yeah, and I think this will be potentially a bit of a crossover of what the gents have already said. And I think, if anything out of this situation, we find ourselves in, we can see that we're craving real human connection. We want to belong to something, we want to experience something, we want to experience it with our friends and our family, and we want to create memories. We've been through an era in the sporting world, we've been through an era of slapping logos on everything. you know, and that was what was said to be the thing. You know, we've been capturing data without purpose. You know, we had a few sweet years of great brand activations where we might have got it right. And then we've also had digital and, you know, influencers, and we might have lost some real connection kind of there, you know. So, you know, there's been some neuro studies into why or how we connect and retain memories. And experts say that the key really relies into experiencing something that's unexpected. So that moment triggers this fight or flight reaction in the brain, and it stores the memory. You know, that's I guess to put it in layman's terms, it's obviously a lot more complicated than that. But you know, it could be a good experience or a bad experience, you know, and it's stored in the same way. And so, you know, these sorts of things, you know, are important. So for brands, this could mean, you know, is it a rethinking of future campaigns and leverage strategy, you know, retaining the real life one-on-one brand consumer conversation, you know, an experience as an integral component of, you know, cementing the brand within its consumer. So, you know, these things were a massive part of an integrated campaign, but they kind of fell away because of new ideas. But we know right now we're feeling that we need to connect, and we need to connect with these things. And it's the same for connecting with the brands, you know, and from that, the next step is then taking them now online and giving them back that memory so that they can relive it, you know, the emotion and feeling, and then, you know, continue that experience with the brand. So, you know, it's not about, you know, wearing a silly hat and taking a picture to share it on social. You know, it's about drawing them into the community and connecting with them, you know, like-minded people with the same purpose. You know, the whole branding pick thing is kind of, it's been done, you know, and it had its place. I know I'm just picking on that to say it, but, you know, my point is people want to connect now, you know, through a like-minded purpose, you know, so there's a bit more to it than it was, and it's really about connecting.
Yeah, I agree with that, CT. I think also there's something to be said about that whole consumer journey, that end-to-end piece, and it's a different touch points as well. I mean, we were talking about before these different pillars that businesses from small to large have got. It's about how you're connecting with these people along the way to, you know, continue that story, continue that relationship with the guys.
Yeah.
Oh, Hayley's on mute again.
I'm going to do a takeout from that. It would be, so it's still going to be really important for our people or our consumers, I'll call them, to go face to face, but then to be able to take them onto other platforms within your business.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Fabulous. So, Jeff, I'm going to go back to you. As part of one of the pillars, you have a huge database. One of the questions that we had in, which I thought was quite fascinating, was you would have some incredible insights on behavior change in the last 2 months and how spending has varied. How do you think that's going to affect, as we come out of social distancing? We're not going to come out straight away. You know, it's going to fold out the way that we fold it in, and possibly at a slower pace as well. How do you think that we could get an insight into consumers' spending patterns in the future?
Yeah. So, yeah, good question. So we do have a really, I'm really proud of our TG Analytics company. They have a great first-party database to work with, but they work with and they append databases from all other sorts of companies together. And we like to think of ourselves as a repository for the best insights into the live entertainment, the live environment. What we've already put out, I think last week, mid last week, they put out their first sort of living in COVID, research. Now, that was our TG Insights business put out, sentiments. I can't remember there was a bit of political stuff in there, but there was a lot about which industries had reacted well and which industries had showed leadership, and we'll continue to put those out. And they won't be in news polls about consumer sentiment, but they'll be targeted more to our industry and people's propensity to want to spend. There's a lot of debate on ticket prices. Some people say, promoters will have to charge, much more for international acts. Well, the market won't sustain that. We're already the highest, probably one, if not the highest, one of the highest charging ticket price charging countries in the world. And we are, Australia with a population of 25.5 million, we're the sixth biggest touring market in the world for international artists. So we're a very big, important, friendly, desirable country to come to, and people will come to that. So I think the way we look at our data analytics, we're inextricably linked to that. That's all of our marketing for our tours, not all of it, vast majority of it is digital marketing, using the best insights we can bring to bear to engage with customers to match their desires and things they like in order for them to buy tickets. And we do that on behalf of ourselves through Ticketek, but also on behalf of other promoters and sports federations and everybody else. And that's where that attention to that will even be more pronounced, I think, after this pandemic, and on the back end of this, I think it'll take some time to come out. But as I said before, I am cautiously optimistic that we'll come out of it, reasonably well, and we'll all be much more experienced and hardened, and have thought about our businesses and come out of it in a good way. I really believe that.
Yeah, and I think a real positive out of this whole conversation so far is that Australian businesses will be supporting and will support each other, and the sponsors will be there to support all the Australian events that are going on. It's not going to be diluted. It's obviously going to affect other parts of the greater industry and the live entertainment, bringing people in internationally. But this could be a good thing for some people within the events industry. And I think we can see that from a sponsorship perspective. Can I just ask you all, we had another question in around what other brands are doing right now, and campaigns that they're doing. So the question was, have you seen any brands that are doing campaigns now with their community that they can later on create an event asset out of 6 to 12 months down the track? So is there something that a brand is doing now that's building the trust or showing what their purpose is, but you're able to see what that journey is, because later on, obviously, they've got a product to sell. Every business has a product to sell. Andreas, do you want to go first?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually saw something this afternoon on this. Optus have completely changed their campaigns at the moment. And
I saw that.
Going to
Brilliant.
G'day a Day.
Yeah.
With Danny Ricciardo and Scotty James. And in the messaging, it's very much around, it's mental health, which is really cool. And they actually call out the fact that, the shift in mindset of their sponsorship is now about sustaining mental stability and, again, supporting the community, and then shifting towards the commercial side, which I think is really quite powerful. And again, it brings that loyalty from their customers and clients.
CT, what about you?
Well, do you know what? I was just going to touch on the same one, I think, to be honest, because I saw it too. And I think it was fantastic. And, the great parts about it is this campaign that wasn't about selling, which, as we've said, is key. And they're encouraging, connection, which is obviously we've just talked about is key for everyone at the moment, but it also aligns back to a product offering for them. So it really fits together very well. And I think, in terms of, event assets you're talking about, I guess as social distancing unfolds, we could easily take this and turn it into, an offline live campaign or a hybrid that then, into a fully live event concept, creating an event asset for Optus with the, full consumer journey, as Andreas was saying. So it's funny to see that this is the start of a camp. It could very easily flow down through the length of this if they wanted it to.
Yeah, cool. I think it was very clever, and I had quite a laugh. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but Daniel Ricciardo and Scotty James have actually been having quite a few chats in the last week and throwing a few things at each other. And it's been really amusing. And I would say that someone at Optus has seen that and thought, these two, they're world-class athletes and they're having a good banter, and they jumped on board with that.
Jeff, I think also given the timeliness of it, I know that mental health is a big issue in Australia at the moment. So it's quite authentic as well. It's not and we're going to see a heightened number of cases come through, I think, with the COVID scenario. And I think it's a really timely and a really honest campaign that I think has been really well played.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be rolled out into a live event eventually, or it could be. Jeff, what about yourself?
Yeah, look, I don't watch many ads. I should watch more. I actually, funnily enough, seen the Optus one, and really clever. And look, I think brands will be, in their above the line treatments of ads like that. They'll need to be careful about what they're doing. Because they don't want to be accused of being inauthentic, to take Andreas's point there. But I haven't got any other examples other than that. But that is really clever branding, and in fact, you three had all seen it. I'd seen it. And we all talked about it. It was obviously the immediacy of cut through now, but just a really clever way of doing it. I imagine not that they need to do it, but clever brand marketing companies like Uber with their Uber Eats they'll come out with something new again on that, or those sort of companies. But I haven't seen any other examples, so I can't add any more to the discourse, unfortunately.
That's right. I actually feel like maybe people were sort of hibernating up until last week, and maybe even still this week. But I think in the next couple of weeks, we'll actually see people looking forward to the end of the year and actually rolling out campaigns that they can start now and that will grow with the reduction of social distancing.
Yeah, I saw another clever one while we're on it from Volvo. And I can't quite remember exactly what the tagline was, but it was all about now's the only time you don't want the safest thing on the road. And it's a play on obviously their branding, and I think that's really clever.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Then it'll lead them into their brand statement, positioning statement later on, and they're sticking by it. So I thought that was really clever too.
Great.
Yeah, it was. It's nice to see all these brands sort of innovate and change, and because we're so used to being sold to all the time, and you're going into their selling pattern, but it's nice to watch where they're going. Another question that we had in was around esports. Esports they've been huge in the last couple of years, but they've really taken off, especially with the V8s and Formula One in the last week. Jeff, I'm going to ask you, do you think that esports are filling a gap right now, or do you think that they're actually going to take market share?
Definitely. Look, we've played in the esports world as a promoter we're in our 4th year. So we started promoting the Intel Extreme Masters with the publishers and partners in there. So we've created the Melbourne Esports Open. So we've looked at it from a promoting side of it. Look, I think they're filling a gap. There is, we're a sports crazy country, and of all the things I'm missing live sport, and seeing it and watching on television. So that's filling a gap. I don't know. I don't think it's going to take market share. I'm interested to see brands get behind it. The supercars esports races have got really good traction. No pun intended, because of the fact that they're a close thing to replicating, a sport, different to a Fortnite or the other popular sort of gaming. But there's no doubt esports has got a market. I think it came on hot and heavy a few years ago. It dissipated a bit as a live thing, and I think it will get a second wind, and we're seeing growth, and they're certainly seeing brands want to partner with it in the. But I do think it's more filling a gap than taking market share at this stage.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they'll, it's definitely made an entertainment, and they might grab a few different people, and people might continue to follow it, but it can't replace a live event.
No, never.
No. The last question for tonight, actually, we touched on slightly last week, was about all these multiple events on the same weekends in September, October, November, December. And I think, we can look on the negative side of this. We can say, all these things are happening, and potentially we're not going to get the participation rates, so we're not going to get the spectators to our events. CT, I know that you've had a lot of thoughts on this, but what do you think the opportunities are of what events companies can be doing right now?
Yeah, look, we're all in this situation, I guess, at the moment, and what we're going to find is a whole year's worth of sporting events or events in total being dropped into a 3 month period to finish off the year, and so we've talked about this, we touched on it last week, but it's, again, if we look at it as an opportunity to look at things a little bit differently. How can we be creative, and how can we turn this into a positive? So can we work together with other events and offer our consumers an enhanced experience? So, for example, it could be a walking or running event that finishes into a festival, or it's linked. You walk or you run in the morning, and a festival's in the afternoon. But we partner to be able to combine, to be able to make it stronger. Maybe it's about creating these new partnerships, whatever they are, and maybe not only create an enhanced experience, but maybe put our product in front of new audiences through it, and grow our customer base. It's about maybe combining forces to attract sponsorships. Maybe if we can pull these events together rather than climb over each other, then we could actually be able to attract better sponsorships. Maybe we can save on costs through shared infrastructure and marketing for the 2 or 3 or whatever is decided. And it's going to be a time, as I said, to be in it together, because it's going to be tough, and we all got to get through it. And it's not the time for people to be climbing over the top of each other and claiming a scalp. We need to be at our creative best and think outside the box and make sure that we can all get our events run and get the most out of them that we can.
Very good sentiments, Chris. Totally agree with them.
Hales.
Again, I need to get better at this. We are very close to the end, but we've had a question through from Alex, which is for Jeff. So he says, with all the postponed events and Jeff's point about international artists, will there be a second hit to live events of refunds due to lineups significantly different to what people have paid for in October?
Well, so what was the second part? Will there be a significant, a second hit of what? A
second hit of refunds due to lineups being significantly different in October.
Oh, right. Yeah. Look, the majority, I think, and I'm not, don't quote me here, but the majority of postponed events are going into 2021 already, I believe. A big tour we've got, a lot of you people never heard of it, a band called Iron Maiden, which was to tour.
I was waiting for the joke. I've heard of them, obviously, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know you have. I'm being facetious, but Iron Maiden was due to start now this next week, I think, or the week after. We're going to move that. We were going to move it later this year, but we're taking a cautious view, and we'll move it into early next year. We've already told that tour is going to be moved. We have had an incredibly low amount of people have asked for a refund. I think that's in the fan base of Iron Maiden being rusted on. thinking they mightn't see them too many more times, and the fact that I think the public, in a way, if they can afford it, and bless them, I think they're trying to be loyal in their own way to to artists and to bands, and not to the promoter necessarily, but to the artist and the band and to the experience, and trying to hang in there. So I think I think there'll be an inevitable crush, quarter two of the calendar year from say March to June. But what we've got to remember with international artists, we will compete with the US and the UK and Europe predominantly, who want these artists to tour there because they've missed out on them as well because they're shut down the same way we are. And for them, a lot of their summer, which is their big touring time, their summer, which is coming up in sort of July, they're going to be reasonably dormant, I would imagine. So I think it's too early to tell what's going to happen, but I do there'll definitely be tours. And I know from my company we've got a number of big stadium and arena acts that will be touring in the period February, March, April, May, June next year, which we're looking to lock in. Touch wood.
Thank you for that. I'm going to do one more question for Andreas, and then we're going to wrap it up. Andreas, Wes has asked earlier on. They're trying to find a balance between not selling but keeping their target audience engaged. How often should they be connecting, and what is the right time for them to reopen for their event options? So I'm passing this to you sort of from a marketing perspective and timelines.
I think it really comes down to the messaging. You don't want to overflood with just constant messaging. It's got to be timely. It's got to be useful, and it's got to be connecting with those consumers. At the moment, the only channel that most people are going to is digital. So it's a very crowded marketplace at the moment. So making sure that one, you stand out in the crowd, but two, that it's something that people want to actually hear. In terms of the right time, again, we don't know how long this is going to go on for. But I think ultimately what you need to think about is you've got an event, and like CT was saying before, you don't want to be fighting against other people and other events. You've got a good product, people will come. And it goes back to that emotive feeling. And Jeff mentioned before about refunds. They're not going to refund, or they don't want the refund because they bought it in the first place because they want to see that act. They want to go to that event. If that event is still happening, they still want to go. That's not going to change their mind around, if it's in March or if it's been postponed. They still want to go there, experience what's available. So I think circling back is just timely, make it relevant content, keep in touch with authentic material. I think that's a really strong word and strong positioning. And again, your event will go on just at the right time.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, that takes us up to the hour, an hour and 1 minute. So thank you very much to everyone for joining us. Thank you very much, Jeff and Andreas and CT for providing us with all your knowledge. We will be doing a summary of this on our Facebook group, so the Shift PanelCast. If you want to sign up, then we'll also be putting a recording on this for anyone that missed it. Please join us next week. If you've got any ideas about panelists that you want on or questions that you want answered, get in contact with us. You can either do it through Facebook or you can email jen@project9events.com.au. It's been wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks again for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.